Now let's take a look at a really interesting concept called pay what you want. As illustrated by this quote from Thomas Nagel, picking the right price is a very important part of a firm's marketing strategy. If the price is too high, a firm will lose potential sales. If it's too low, it will lose potential revenue. Thus, the key is to find the price that's just right. The problem is that what's just right for you may be too high or too low for me. Thus, allowing price to vary according to the value that a product provides to various potential customers makes a lot of sense. Now, firms try to do this in a number of different ways. For example, here in the US, movie theaters typically offer discounts to demographic groups that traditionally have lower incomes, such as students and senior citizens. This approach is called price segmentation, as a very commonly employed pricing strategy. The setting of these different price segments has been usually determined by firms rather than customers. For example, my local grocery store offers discounts on donuts that are 2 days old. However, I can't walk into the store and say I want to pay this discounted price for a set of freshly baked donuts. It just doesn't work that way. However, in recent years, a few firms have been experimenting with the idea of allowing their customers to segment themselves by letting them name their own price. This rather unorthodox strategy is quickly gaining popularity and is being called pay what you want, or PWYW for short. Although this pricing strategy has been employed in physical stores, it is ideally suited to a digital marketing environment because of the increased ability of firms to control the distribution of their product and to track customer payment activity in a digital setting. In addition, since the marginal cost of a digital good is close to zero, this strategy is relatively low risk in a digital setting. Now let's take a look at some examples. A wide variety of different firms have experimented with the pay what you want strategy. First of all, Radiohead. Way back in 2007, the British rock band Radiohead offered its new album in rainbows for sale using a pay what you want strategy. You may remember this. Now, this approach received worldwide attention and was the launching pad for the broader pay what you want movement. Another example comes from an online retailer called headsets.com. In recent years, this retailer has experimented with a pay what you want strategy as a means of rewarding customer loyalty. Now, nearly all of its customers paid the suggested price or close to it for the headsets offered via this strategy. According to its CEO, this approach has resulted in a 30% increase in its return on investment. Finally, Wikipedia. You're probably familiar with Wikipedia by now, certainly in this course. If you're like most people, you've used Wikipedia for free, but have you ever wondered how Wikipedia makes money and stays in business? Now, although its content is user-generated and offered for free, Wikipedia has lots of other expenses, such as the cost of its servers, technical support, and attorney fees. Thus, in order to stay in business, Wikipedia relies upon PWYW through donations to its Wikimedia Foundation and has currently collected over $75 million in assets. Pay what you want is a pricing strategy that lets customers decide how much they want to pay for a particular product. Although a firm may suggest a price, its customers are free to pay less or even more than this price. Indeed, several pay what you want offerings let customers pay even nothing. Now let's take a bit of a deeper dive into this intriguing concept. Now, there are lots of interesting issues surrounding PWYW. In this lecture, I want to focus on 3 specific issues. First of all, do people actually pay when they don't have to? This is a really good question. Now, according to standard economic thought, customers are seeking to maximize their utility. You may remember this from your economics courses. In other words, customers want to get as much as they can for as little as they have to pay. So from a strictly economic perspective, a PW/YW strategy seems rather foolish, since economic actors would simply take a product without paying anything for it. However, in reality, many people, including you, are not just self-interest economic actors, but we're also social beings who are governed by norms of honesty and fairness. So while some do behave as economists suggest, many people do not. For example, a recent 2-year study on the buying behavior of patrons at a pay-what-you-want restaurant in Vienna found that over 99% paid something for the food that they ate. 99%. Second, how can a firm make money by giving its product away for free? Another really good question. Clearly, a firm can't make money or stay in business if it keeps giving its products away for free. This simply will not work. Fortunately, many people will pay something for a product even under a pay-what-you-want strategy. For example, Radiohead found that some people actually paid more than they would in a typical pricing condition when they were asked to name their own price. Also, because a PW/YW strategy is novel and newsworthy, firms often get a lot of attention when they employ this approach. This added attention results in increased traffic and a higher degree of customer volume. For example, the U.S. National Aquarium in Baltimore recently held a pay-what-you-want day in which its patrons could set their own admission price. This event attracted over 7,500 visitors and raised more than $33,000. Both of these amounts are well above their typical levels. Third, is this pricing strategy sustainable? As we'll discuss shortly, the emerging academic research in this area suggests that a pay-what-you-want strategy is more likely to be successful if it's offered for a limited duration, available for only a small subset of a firm's product offerings, or limited to a certain set of buyers. Also, most of the successful examples of this strategy have employed pay-what-you-want on a rather limited basis. Again, Radiohead's used this strategy during the release of its In Rainbows album, but used a more traditional approach for its subsequent albums. So pay-what-you-want appears to be an approach that is a good change of pace, but not sustainable as a long-term pricing strategy.